There is one banner that can rival Degenbrecher. Perhaps it's Shu, which should release at the end of July or early August. Or perhaps it's Ella a few months after from the Rainbow Six Siege collab. While those two banners offer operators with incredible sets of skills, they are the least of your concern. In fact, you might want to take a look at the standard banner running alongside Degenbrecher's banner. God, her name is so hard to pronounce. For the 6 stars, there's Penance and Lee, two of the best operators in their respective classes. I briefly talked about Penance in my joint operation video a few months ago, so do check it out if you haven't. With that being said, I want to focus on Kazemaru in this video. She has been under the radar ever since she was released. She is cute, has a really nice E2 art, and a really good looking Halloween skin. Kazemaru might not be as broken as the Black Knight, but the community regards her as a solid operator with respectable DPS. So, if you decided to skip the overpowered MILF Knight, how good is Kazemaru and should you get her? Kazemaru is a 5-star Dollkeeper specialist. Dollkeepers have the ability to, quote, cheat death by swapping in a substitute with 0 block, lasting for 20 seconds when their HP reaches 0, then swaps back again once the timer is up. They still die like any other operators, but that only happens if the doll's HP reaches 0, not the actual operator. The doll also shares the same base stats as the operator, as well as bonus stats from Trust, Potential, and Module. Swapping to and from the doll fully heals the operator itself and removes all negative status and debuffs. While in doll form, the operator cannot gain any SP and consequently their skill is deactivated. Interestingly, Dollkeepers are tagged as fast redeploy. Like Executors, the real fast redeploy operators, Dollkeepers return to the battlefield fully healed. Unlike Executors, Dollkeepers don't have the flexibility of repositioning and the redeployment is done automatically. Kazemaru's talent, From Paper Comes Alive, allows her Kaminingyo, or doll, to deal 270% of its attack as arch damage to enemies in 8 surrounding tiles. The AoE arch damage when summoning is great at taking out large group of trash mobs, and in some cases able to take on high defense enemies. Of course, since it's AoE, the doll can hit flying enemies too. Even Spectre Alter can't do that, except if that flying enemy is invisible. I'm talking about you, Pyrolysis. This talent and skill 2, which we will talk about it later, is what makes Kazemaru one of the best Dollkeepers in the game. Kazemaru's first skill, Origami Art First Strike, deals 350% damage and at the same time she loses 10% of her HP. It's a straightforward, quick burst skill that is commonly found in most Swordmaster operators. The self-inflicting damage allows Kazemaru to proc her talent more often, but at the same time, it takes a while to go from full HP all the way to 0 unless you get some help from taking damage from enemies. However, after doing a few test runs, I found that it's better if you ensure Kazemaru's HP doesn't get to 0. The lack of blocking and smaller attack multiplier clearly shows that her doll is weaker than the skill. Skill 1 might not perform quite well in the main content, but in IS game modes, this skill has excellent scaling with few relics, particularly the Spinach and the Wrath of Syrakusans, to name a few. The cheap SP cost and high attack multiplier of skill 1 is good in its own right, and definitely has its uses in some situations, but pales in comparison to skill 2. Skill 2, Origami Art Twin Shadows, is Kazemaru's flagship skill. When activated, Kazemaru loses 50% HP but gains 120% attack buff and summons her Kaminingyo in a 3x3 area around her. The Kaminingyo, or the doll, will prioritize enemies with the closest route to the blue box. If a tile with an enemy is not available, it will spawn on the next available tile. If there are no tiles available, well then it will not spawn, which is kind of a waste. But you still get the attack buff anyway. As you may notice, Kazemaru has 2 instances at which she can summon her Kaminingyo, from her talent and her skill 2. In both instances, the doll procs Kazemaru's talent when summoned. What makes the skill 2 Kaminingyo different is that it cannot attack aerial enemies, but inherits the attack modifier from the skill. Skill 2 itself has a great rotation thanks to its 50% uptime. Even at level 7, this skill gets activated quite often. With a 1020 initial SP, you can heli drop this skill as well, but it works even better at M3 where the initial SP is 1520. Another perk of this skill is that when you think about it, the Kaminingyo act as an extension to Kazemaru's attack range. She spawns the Kaminingyo in a 3x3 area around her, and the Kaminingyo itself has its own 3x3 range. Theoretically, Kazemaru and her doll can reach an enemy within a 5x5 range, offering you great coverage. As far as I know, no doll keepers, hell, even specialist operators have an attack range this big. Ascalon comes close with the help of her skill 3, but she is shy of just a few tiles. Overall, skill 2 offers a great amount of DPS and it's elevated with good rotation and relatively cheap SP costs. The extended range is just the cherry on top. If you are planning to use Kazemaru in most of your runs, you definitely want to prioritize skill 2. At level 7, it's already really good, but mastery is very important if you want to get the most out of Kazemaru's kit. The most significant upgrade you get is the shorter initial SP charge time from 10 seconds down to 5, and that way you can proc her skills earlier, making heli dropping Kazemaru a lot easier. The attack buff gain is also pretty good, with a 30% increase to take on tougher enemies. Kazemaru's module increases the attack of the doll when she dies. Level 2 and level 3 increases the attack multiplier of her talent when summoning the Kaminingyo. But according to a few sources, none of the module upgrades apply to the skill 2 Kaminingyo. It's such a missed opportunity for Hypergriff for not implementing it and would justify upgrading the module to higher levels and possibly make Kazemaru really broken. As it stands, level 1 is good enough to ensure Kazemaru can stay in the battlefield longer and dish out more damage. And maybe if you have some extra materials lying around, then maxing out the module is not at all a bad idea. So, should you get Kazemaru? Yes. Should you get Kazemaru over the MILF Knight? No. I suggest you try your luck getting Degenbrecher first and use whatever gold certificates you earned to buy Kazemaru from the store. Putting aside Degen's banner, Kazemaru is an incredible operator. I started using her literally for this video and it's surprising it took me this long to finally try her out. Her kit is not game breaking but still fun to use. She's of course not the type of operator to solo boss stages. She needs other operators, for example healers, to maximize her damage output from her skills. And lastly, I really like her design. We have Degenbrecher, who is strong, mature and built like a tank, and Kazemaru is just the other end of the spectrum. It doesn't matter because I like both. Her Halloween skin is amazing and her E2 art, holy shit, I can stare at it for hours. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!